Magandang umaga sa lahat. Good day, everyone, and welcome to the 11th session of UP Manila Sila Webinar Series IOL 2025. I am Gabby Velasquez, and I will be your host for today's webinar session. Just a brief overview for everyone. At UP Manila Standards and Interoperability Lab, or UPM Lab, we are motivated by a strong mission, which is to achieve universal health coverage through the digital health capacity building in the Philippines. And in 2025, our focus this year is empowering our community with digital health knowledge. And to achieve this, we have launched the weekly webinar series, the IOL 2025, which covers digital health and interoperability trends and challenges, especially here in the Philippines. And in case you missed it, we actually have two sub-series, so the IOL 101 and the IOL 201 Community Connect. So with IOL 101, it provides foundational knowledge from local and global experts, while the 201 Community Connect, we feature their experts from our COP or our community of practice members through community-led sessions. And as always, we are grateful to our partners. We have Cesario Australia through the SSCP project or the Strengthening Standards Capability project, and of course the DOSTP CHRD for supporting our webinar series. Okay. So today, I'm honored to welcome everyone as we explore interoperability in the level of medical devices. So this session, we will showcase the different locally developed telementoring devices created by UP Surgical Innovation and Biotech Laboratory, or the UP CBOL, highlighting the value of interdisciplinary collaboration in their design process. And of course, these devices are proudly co-designed by both clinicians and engineers, ensuring that the patient needs remain at the forefront. And with that being said, um, this this presentation will also highlight how device integration and interoperability can help address critical gaps here in the Philippines. So once again, thank you all for joining us this morning, and we look forward to an engaging and informative session with all of you. Okay. But before we proceed, like there we go. Just a quick rundown of the house rules. So this session is already being recorded, and by proceeding with the meeting, you are consenting to be recorded. I request everyone to kindly stay muted throughout the lecture. And a new virtual background has been provided to your email, so turning on your camera is very much appreciated, especially later during the Q&A session. We encourage everyone to please change your name for proper identification, and if you may, please add your affiliation beside your name for proper recognition. Of course, we want this session to be engaging and interactive, so there will be a Q&A portion after the lecture, so please actively participate and don't hesitate to ask your question. So you have three options. You can either use the raise hand function, or you may type in your questions in the chat box, or if you want to ask anonymously, you may use the Q&A button. Reminding everyone to please not leave the session after the Q&A, as we will be having our group photo taken. And lastly, to receive your electronic certificates of participation, please don't forget to complete the evaluation form. And these are the following criteria for the issuance of your electronic certificate. And please be advised that the release of your e-certs may be subject to delay. So again, we apologize for any inconvenience, but rest assured we will be sending them within the week or next week. Okay, moving on to our agenda for today. It is my great pleasure to introduce to the group Dr. Nathaniel Areliazo Jr., famously called as Dr. Nats, as our speaker for this session of IOL 101. So Dr. Nats is a professor of orthopedics and hand surgery at University of the Philippines, Manila, Philippine General Hospital. His research focuses on patient-reported outcomes, soft tissue care, and congenital hand surgery. He collaborates with the UP-CPOL on medical device development and AI-driven computer vision in health. And additionally, he currently chairs UP Manila Office of the Vice Chancellor for Research, Discovery and Innovation Hub Committee, and has previously served as the program leader of UP-CPOL Integrated Telementoring Advancement Working Group, or the UP-CTEL. So now to present us interoperability of locally developed medical devices, insights from the UP CTEL group. Let us virtually welcome Dr. Nathaniel Ordiaza Jr. Dr. Nats, over to you po. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabby, for the kind introduction. There's a bit of pressure in this crowd, no? So I'm dealing with a group of hungry, sleepy, and tired students, but are excited. So okay na rin naman. I'm really, really honored and happy to be sharing or to be invited and to be sharing some of our experiences with the group. So again, congratulations uh, to Silab. My pronunciation to na Silab, not Silab, for this webinar. And thank you for the opportunity to share what UP Ball is all about and how our experiences may contribute to innovations in digital health in general, especially for the country. I hope you can see my slides clearly, Gabby, no? Okay naman?
Yes, Doc, we can see your screen and we can hear you clearly.
Okay, so I'm honored to talk about this program, which was, I have to mention, generously supported by the UP system through the Emerging Interdisciplinary Research Grant Cycle 9 and, of course, the DOST-PCHRD. But before I go into the talk, I want to make it clear that I am but a messenger. I was the program leader, the default program leader, but I'm speaking on behalf of this group of talented people, a big group of talented people who made all of these things possible. So these are 4 projects with clinicians and technical experts in each component. And together with Prof. Luis Sison, TTBDO System Director of UP, I served as the program lead. My most important disclaimer for this talk and for the program is that I'm still a clinician, as mentioned in my short introduction. I did mostly clinical research before I got into this now. And I have to admit that I have limited understanding of the technical aspects of the project. So if I'm not able to answer some of the questions later, I apologize in advance. My experience working in different training institutions presented by the logos here has provided me the perspective to define the problems that our colleagues worked on to solve. So kami yung nagbibigay ng problema that our scientists, engineers, and artists solve. And my most important disclosure naman, aside from not having any financial stake at present in these products, is that I am a technophile. I really get excited with new technology, especially when it relates to health. With that, I'll start with a personal experience, as an experience that I've had for the past few years, even before I started this program. Started in this program. So this is my experience on using digital technology for health. I have to share a little bit about myself. I'm hypertensive, and I have to monitor my blood pressure, or else my classmate, who's also my primary, will be annoyed. And I love that we have these electronic BP measuring devices now versus the traditional ones. And so I belong to that generation that actually used the version with mercury sphygmomanometer. So you probably understand and get the added delight that we have these electronic digital versions. I especially like that it gives precise readings, not just the intense, no. So now you can actually go to single digits accurate precision, and that it has Bluetooth that automatically sends readings to my phone with an app that organizes the data for me and shows me a pattern or a trend of how my blood pressure is. So as a nerd, I was already imagining how this data, when it accumulates throughout my lifetime, it can be used for analysis, machine learning, and even if combined with all other data of other people, it was something that be useful for policy making, for guidelines. Uh, and I also imagine the scenario that is an example of how thousands of isolated islands may be connected digitally in health if you're able to share all this data wirelessly with our doctors, with other centers who may be needing to see this data, even if they're not geographically near us. And of course, more data means more available data for analysis, better understanding of diseases, and better policy making, as was described in the intro videos by our Secretary of Health. But there was one hitch. So when I travel, it's impractical to bring the bulky device. And I was actually quite happy in the beginning that a relative was I visiting had a slightly more advanced model of the same brand with multiple users feature, meaning a guest can actually use the device and also has Bluetooth. So I tried to use it. The reading seemed accurate, same brand, high expensive brand. But my problem is I could not seem to transfer the data to the same app that I was using for the one that I have at home. On further online readings, I figured that being in a different region requires that I download a different app to do the exact same thing that my app from the same company does. The two icons look similar. There's some variations in how they present the data, but my biggest frustration was the two products coming from the same company don't talk. Why can't they talk? And because it's proprietary, it's probably not easy to grab the data. I didn't even try. And just thinking about it, we can imagine what we may expect from similar devices made by other manufacturers that we use at the consumer level. So is this really helping us, or is this serving as just an expensive measurement tool that works in isolation? Although that example is obviously just a small personal experience of my daily use of a medical device, we can again expand this and look at what we actually observe in our medical facilities and our healthcare facilities. We have the same concern about medical devices, aside from literally originating from different countries that literally speak different languages. These devices were developed in silos, using terms, codes, variables that may be unique for the company or the region. So while these devices may be advanced in reading, the consolidation of data serialized in the manual input in our electronic records, which we also know as a product varies greatly among centers and hospitals. For those who are using these tools in daily practice, we know that electronic data records vary between centers or users. It's not uncommon actually in the Philippines, even in my daily work, to have multiple platforms in a single center that requires redundant input of data. That being said, it translates to situation beyond a hospital or region and even into a national scale. The technology that we thought would streamline things and connect us actually now pose new problems. Those that have it may be lost in translation, trying to connect with other devices or consolidate the data per patient. The other aspect of it is that we still have limited access because most of these devices are imported, expensive, and maybe difficult to maintain, maybe difficult to use, and not available in many localities. So as clinicians, sometimes we wonder, is it really helping, or is it just adding another layer of possible sources of errors when we do multiple entry of data, inefficiencies because we have to do everything again and again, and even inequity because some have it, others don't. With those challenges in the background, this talk will not be highlighting too much of the technical aspects, but just more of a sharing of experience, some best practices that our team can share on local biomedical device development from the point of view of our young laboratory, and discuss the importance of interoperability, how it became part of the discussion in our devices. One of our project leaders, Dr. Donnie Magno, made this illustration for a poster that he presented in 2021. And it speaks of how impactful digital health interventions may be in solving problems that we regularly face. So from the personal to public health levels, covering diagnosis, treatment, and monitoring recovery, these thoughts and aspirations fuel our personal desires or even our group desires to create solutions that in the past many of our colleagues attempted to do on their own. Some may have succeeded, but I'm sure epistemic trespassing can only reach so far, especially when the experts in developing such technologies are really within reach. They may not be in the same campus, but we can actually reach them. And that's the story of UP Ball, no? Because we realized that we are somehow separated by a river and of course lots of traffic. So the establishment of UPC, UP Surgical Innovation and Biotechnology Laboratory, is often referred to by our program leader, Dr. Edward Wang, as a literal crossing of the bridge over Pasig River. As our medical engineering colleagues are in different campuses, it was always challenging to work together on health-related projects. So clinicians are often creating half-baked solutions for problems because we see the problems every day and we think we don't have help. On the other side, we have engineers for creating devices that end up not being used because clinicians will eventually say that they're not useful or necessary. So this was until our leaders decided that we cross the bridge from both sides to collaborate. These collaborations weren't really that formal when we started, and we tried to keep it that way. These were initiated with what we call clicks or conversations leading to innovation and collaboration. They're meant to be simple conversations, ideally over a relaxing setting like having coffee, to share problems and potential solutions to promote health and provide better care for our patients. So this was started late 2019, and we know what happened early 2020 when COVID came. But that actually did not stop us. In fact, the pandemic accelerated the development of many of these biomedical devices that we were dreaming of. The common enemy fostered collaborative innovation from different specialties, and because people had more time. So different colleges with a common goal to support the fight against COVID-19 work together. Initially, mainly online, working separately but meeting online. And then after many online and on-site meetings, UPCBOL was able to create biomedical devices that address the need of the pandemic that eventually we found to be useful even beyond the pandemic. So just to show some examples of that, many of the early products were geared at disinfection and protection against airborne infection. We also have capitalized on the growing interest in AI, and we could still continue to do so with several projects on markerless motion detection for applications in telehealth. And also continue to grow in our additive manufacturing capacity for medical simulation and rapid prototyping. So these are just advertisements, and if you're interested, we would be happy to collaborate with you. But today, the topic is focused on our telemonitoring products, which is made of these four highlighted products that were developed before, during, and after, or continued developing after the pandemic. I'll start with the most familiar, which among the innovations uh, during the pandemic, it was deployed into a telemetry system, the RX box. This was mentioned earlier. So the RX box is a pioneering telehealth service device designed more than a decade ago by none other than one of the main movers of CLAB, Dr. Marcelo and company and colleagues, and has multiple attached sensors to capture vital signs to aid health workers monitoring areas with limited health professionals. So this was invented with our thousands of islands separated, isolated islands in mind, and sending data using limited bandwidth. So you have to send data across distances, across seas. You have limited bandwidth. You need to be able to do that, and RxBox was able to demonstrate that. The existing ArcsBox units were recently repurposed and redesigned to send the readings to local dashboards that may be observed from a distance to avoid exposure to patients in isolation, thus making it a telemetry system. The next project, also mentioned earlier in our icebreaker, which is very close to my heart, is My Beshi, or MyBot, ensuring safety and health in isolated environments. If this is a telepresence device which aimed to connect isolated patients to initially just health workers involved in their care, then eventually even to the outside world, to their loved ones and other relevant people who patients would want to connect with, like clergy or other specialists. And this was inspired by the difficulty of communicating with health professionals during COVID at the time were buried in layers of personal protective equipment and that for the vulnerable patients at the time, they look more scary than comforting. So this was really just to give a face to your healthcare workers at the time. We also later realized that these devices can serve as force multipliers of specialists in areas where we have limited health professionals, which we know at present is still a big segment of the Philippine society. Now, the Echo On-Site, also a telepresence device, allows remote observation of an echocardiography or ultrasound of the heart. So it's usually needed to see how the heart moves, and this is usually done by a technician, but it should be supervised by a cardiologist who will give the interpretation. So to help the specialist assist the technicians and even diagnose remotely, this can be used. This can be helpful in locations without cardiologists who are physically present. With how fast technology is moving now, we know that it's not difficult for us to imagine that it will be easier to deploy more machines and technicians to perform the diagnostic test in remote regions than to attempt to train enough cardiologists to cover those areas over time. It really takes years and decades to produce more cardiology. So if we rely on the good old manual transfer of recordings, we may be exposing ourselves to errors and inefficiencies. And we will be wasting a lot of valuable resources like in patient's time, cardiologist time. And of course, real-time observation allows the specialist to guide the procedure and provide insights as needed to establish an accurate diagnosis, which often is essential acutely, no? Kailangan siya ng maaga for cardiac. Last, definitely not the least, is our eSteth, which is a local version of the wireless stethoscope that can wirelessly detect at present heart and breath sounds for the evaluation of a clinician who in our initial planning was just for those who are wearing personal protective equipment. But of course, we realize that it's also useful for those who are in remote locations, similar to our other telemonitoring device. So this supports the other devices, adding another sensor to capture patients' findings or vital signs and safely transmit this to a clinician on the other side. In the product development map, the addition of AI capabilities has also been discussed, which may enhance its functions as an aid both in the diagnosis and monitoring of treatment and recovery. So what did these four devices have in common? These devices started around the time of the pandemic, except for the RX box. The addition of the telemetry started around that time. Realizing the value and uses of these telehealth devices, the proponents decided to join forces, primarily to ensure that devices will be able to work together while continuing the development of the individual projects in preparation for uses beyond the pandemic. The initial idea was really just basic integration, as you can tell in our name, which we did not change, no, UPCable Integrated. So it was really just about integration to combine these projects into a single streamlined unit. But because of friends, and we're happy to have friends, including the pioneers of Silab, we decided to work beyond integration and include interoperability of the devices anchored on HS7 Fire. So those who are not familiar, FHIR or Fast Healthcare Interoperability Resources is the next generation interoperability standard created by the Standards Development Organization HS7. So it promotes or it creates a base for interoperability of digital health, which in contrast with integration allows separate systems to communicate and exchange data, even if originally they were not designed to work together. So we used such standards in developing an easy-to-use interface for integration also, for a dashboard that can facilitate the quick and efficient exchange of health data. So what are its functions? The main platform was Lifeline, built on a previous version of RxBox interface. And while we did not really want to create another electronic health record, which can be a burden, we needed a base system that will demonstrate the connection among the devices with the patient. In our mind, we wanted something that can work seamlessly with other existing electronic records without the need to spend more time encoding in another app. So we kept everything to the most basic, ready to integrate to any FHIR compliant system. From the same app, we incorporated control of the different devices depending on their specific functions and needs. For example, the app allows navigation and communication functions for MyBeshi, which also allows or connects viewing of vital signs of the same patient being recorded by RxBox. So you can imagine you're talking to the patient while you're trying to discuss details, clinical details with the patient. You're able to seamlessly look at the patient's data as collected by the sensors of RxBox or as performed in an to the echo either to the echo using echo on site or even real time using the eSteth. You can also look at all of these collected data while communicating with the patient in the same interface. And as a telemetry system, it allows remote real-time monitoring with the built-in dashboard and historical data recording for RxBox. There are also functions to detect and alert abnormal findings, trigger response from clinicians, which are very important. Eventually, with other interoperable devices, the source of data can alert clinicians maybe from triggers or warnings coming from other devices connected and exchanging data with RxBox. It can also capture, archive, and retrieve images and videos for Echo On-Site for future discussions with patients and other specialists. So aside from observing, like a telepresence device, observing the procedure being done by a trained technician, the specialist can use the platform to go back and share the images using the communication function of MyBeshi to have a professional discussion of the case if you're discussing among colleagues, or to explain to the patient and relatives the findings of the test and also correlate them with the readings of the sensors from RxBox. So these capabilities, they may, well, I think from the technical perspective, admittedly, they're still very basic. And will probably will benefit for more streamlining and testing, especially for interoperability with other systems. We're really just starting with the work, and we're happy to provide a proof of concept that being in such an integrated and interoperable system allows the devices to seamlessly work together. So looking ahead with excitement, my personal dream is that these and other future devices will eventually be part of a package, like a modular system that we may be able to offer to provide for the specific needs of the population, whether these are patients or healthy individuals, whether they are from home care use, barangay health center use, or even in tertiary hospitals. This should serve as an encouragement for our clinicians and more importantly for our patients to see the value in using technology and also sharing their data for the greater good of the community, because essentially the patients still own the data, and this will be an encouragement for them that when they share their data, it results to being used for a higher purpose. And this also provides a precedent for future device developers to consider interoperability early in the development, which is what we did for all of these devices. That is the future in health that we want to see. And these devices performing their roles to bridge that great physical and digital divide that Dr. Magno illustrated and that exists in our country. And while, as mentioned, these are still baby steps, they are still important movements closer to achieving our dreams. In summary, I hope you're able to appreciate how collaborative innovation worked well for us in our specific efforts to develop biomedical devices locally, especially these telemonitoring devices. We focused on our goal of extending the reach of our severely limited health workers, capitalizing on the growing applications of health sensors and high fidelity video communication devices. Lastly, we put on center stage efforts to ensure interoperability of the new devices being developed to help these devices fulfill their roles in increasing accuracy, efficiency of delivery of care, and to improve patient safety and equity and comfort in anticipation of technologically advanced and healthier society. So if you imagine a Philippines like this, we may be high tech, but more importantly, we have a very healthy population. So that ends my talk. I hope you're all still awake and less hungry. I'd be happy to answer some questions and discuss. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sorry, here's my microphone. Thank you so much, Dr. Nats, for the enlightening talk. So today we gained valuable insights on the different locally made telementoring devices of UPCBO like the RX Box, Echo OnSite, MyPeshi, and eStat. So I hope you guys are familiar with these already. And of course, we also learned about the integration of these devices in the Lifeline app and the benefits of having interoperable devices for a real-time monitoring. All right. So again, thank you so much, sir. We enjoyed your very informative lecture. And yes, I hope everyone's energized already. And I hope you guys learned a lot from the talk. So now we're opening the floor for a Q&A. So again, you have the options. You can either use the raise hand function, or you may type in your questions in the chat box, or if you want to ask anonymously, you can use the Q&A button. Okay, so sir, we do have a question already in the chat from Dr. Alvin Marcelo himself. So how can we avail of the eStat device? So is this now available for use or purchase? And who should the audience contact if they wish to use any of these devices described over?
So unfortunately, we are not yet at the commercial level. That is the goal for the next phase. And we're working really hard to get all of these devices. Like I said, these are still just baby steps, but we're getting there. And I'm happy that there are people who are interested. I will also post the email address of UP Ball. I forgot to put it in my slide, but I'll post it in the chat so that those who are interested may be able to connect with us.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. And yun nga po, no, earlier may mga nag-comment, ang cute nung My Beshi, very nice devices. Ayan. Okay, so we have another question here. Dr. Nat, do we have any move that this will be adopted by the government hospital and other facilities?
So for that, sir, again, very relevant question because we don't want these to be just available for those who can afford them, no? Because these devices are still relatively expensive. So early on, aside from thinking of interoperability, we sat down with our HTAC, essentially to consult with them on how we can prepare for these devices to eventually be available or to be adopted by the government. And essentially, the government should pay for their use. No? So if not, kasi they will not be available to the bigger public. So there are efforts to do that, sir. We're just still in that stage where we're still trying to hurdle, and I know that this is familiar to many developers, no? The regulatory aspect. Yes, HTAC is Health Technology Assessment Platform. So we want to hurdle, which is a requirement of HTAC. We have to pass first regulation, which means our devices have to be ready for consumer use before the government will consider adopting these devices. But they are definitely, that question is definitely relevant and important. Thank you, po, for that.
Thank you, sir. Sir, correct me if I'm wrong. Uh, uh, I quite catch before that the RX box was actually deployed to other LGUs po. Kasi kami mismo sa LGU ko po sa Biliran, alam ko may RX box po na-deploy yun. Na-share po yun nung dad ko po.
That's true. That was the first version of the RxBox was really very useful. No, as I mentioned, the original intent was to have them deployed in remote areas. They can send data through low bandwidth method. Uh, that has been registered, approved for use. But now the new use, as we were told, and Dr. Eli Marcelo is part of that discussion, has to be kailangan ulit eh. We need to re-register because it has different uses now. But it should be easier for RxBox. I think RxBox would be the first to get the thumbs up just because it has been used and deployed. Some of our other devices, like MyBeshi, has also been deployed as a research product in other areas like Batangas, and we were able to get good feedback from them. But unfortunately, because these were made during the pandemic, they were made at the level of industrial manufacturing. So they're starting to degenerate also. The next stage is to get them to a level where we can actually manufacture them in industrial level and have them ready for wider distribution.
Great. Thank you so much, sir. And so we have a comment from Dr. Eloy. So if in response to the question siguro earlier by Sir Alan. And so if government money will be used to pay for technology, HTAC should make an assessment and give go signal. Yes. HTAC ata yung for the medicines and medical devices.
That's correct. To be funded by the government. So usually PhilHealth will pay for the devices or medicines must approved by HTAC.
Mm-mm. Yes. Okay, so are there any other questions from the group po? We still have time.
I think there's a comment. We hope that med nursing schools can also make use of these devices. Yes, definitely po. If you're interested to be involved in the development or expansion of such developments, we are really open for collaboration. UP is about collaboration. And so if you're thinking of other uses, not just for testing them in your informatics lab, feel free to connect with us and let's see how we can work together.
So we have a question from Sir Janelle Macalanda of UPC Lab. Are there any plans for new versions of RxBox or any other Cbol devices?
Hi, Janelle. You saw his name, although maybe it was too quick. Janelle is part of the team. Yes, Janelle, especially if you will come back to us. Balik ka na daw. There are plans to create new versions, both My Beshi and RxBox, and of course, we're still developing the other devices.
And sir, we have a question from Dr. Alvin. So, what might be your asks from government to support the PCPOL in making projects po
How
like
much time? How much time do we have, sir? And how much money are we talking about? There are a lot of really a lot of needs. As UPC will still now exist as a laboratory under the College of Medicine, but it's not directly funded uh, per year, which means we really rely on grants.
okay.
And that can be a problem when it comes to sustainability. So that's why there are pauses between phases of our development because we have to apply for grants and we know that approvals take time. We're getting better at it, but I think we're not moving enough. But we would want the government to be more supportive of continuing such projects without having to rely on the grant cycle. So that's probably my most important ask, sir. And of course, aside from that, we need the government to handhold all of these, not just CBOL, but all medical device development teams to make sure that their efforts are not wasted. So early on in the development, the government should be involved, like what we did, consulting HTAC, that so that someone is guiding us towards regulatory approval and eventually translation dissemination. I hope that was clear. Parang napuputol ako.
Yeah, we can hear you, sir, but currently your video is off. Ayan, okay na po. Naka-on na. Ayan. Thank you, Dr. Alvin, for the question, and thank you, Dr. Nat. So, I think we still have time for one last question from the group. So, may pahabol pa po bang tanong? Siguro while waiting, sir, I would like to ask lang din po. Sa four devices po, which do you think is the most difficult po to develop? Saan po kayo
Believe
nahirapan
it,
din dapat?
the most complex is still Xbox, but because it's there now, it's free. But I think there will be more challenges now with ESTEF because we're thinking of a lot of different uses for it. So, parang pag dumadami yung naisip mong gawin, then it makes the development a bit more complicated also. And it really has a potential to be useful in different use cases. So, that may be the most challenging at this stage because the others, more refinement na lang.
And with the booming of biosensors po, no, baka magandang
Correct.
yeah.
Correct. Correct.
Ayan. Okay. So are there any other question from the group? Wala na? Going once? Going twice? Okay. Wala na? Okay. Again, thank you, Doc Nats, for sharing your valuable time and expertise with us. So before we formally end this session, may I invite everyone to please turn on your camera. Let's have a group photo taken. So in 3, 2, 1, smile. So again, thank you all for joining us today. And remember, the conversation doesn't have to end here. So flashed in your screen is the remaining topic for the month of April. So I hope to see you all next week. And so you can scan the QR code if you haven't registered yet. And to receive your electronic certificates of participation, and of course, for us to improve our next sessions, kindly answer the evaluation form flashed on your screen on the left side. And on the right side is the QR code to join our COP or Community of Practice WhatsApp group. All right. So that brings us to the end of today's session, interoperability of locally developed medical devices. So I hope you guys keep your curious engines fired up. So let's stay connected, and I hope this webinar series has sparked you guys to keep pushing the boundaries of digital health. Once again, this is Gabby Velasquez. So magandang gabi sa lahat. Esther, magandang umaga. See you next week. Bye. Thank you guys. Thank you, Doc Nats. Thank you, Doc Eloy.
You.
Thank you, Gabby. Bye.